Welcome back to the show, everybody. First, we would like to start off on a somber note. This is going to be a longer intro than usual. We want to give tribute to both Tony Siragusa as well as Jalen Ferguson, who unfortunately left us this past weekend. And our deepest condolences to their friends, their families, as well as their teammates. Both Baltimore Ravens players, both defensive players who were exceptional at their respective positions. So, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, it's just it both gone too soon in both perspectives. Jalen Ferguson, as far as a player, we're just getting to see what he could have become like that, and then he's our age, dude. So like I said this earlier, gone too early. Tony Siragusa had to have family as well. Died at the age of 55. It's very, very sad, and got to give thoughts to the Ravens franchise, those families, and. There's not much more we can say other than just all that.
Yeah, sending our condolences out, our thoughts and our prayers as well.
Yeah.
Moving on, Rob Gronkowski just announced his retirement. Yeah, throughout these past couple of days. Just to go through his resume here, 4-time Super Bowl champ. 3 of those championships with the New England Patriots, and 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a 4-time first-team All-Pro, a 5-time Pro Bowl selection, and had 92 receiving touchdowns, third most by a tight end, Ricardo, as well as the most 100-plus reception yard games by a tight end, which were 32. Yeah, 32. So New England fans and Tampa Bay fans, respectively, are going to feel a certain way about this. New England fans maybe a little bit more, but he has nothing left to prove, Ricardo, especially with the injuries that have eventually caught up to him.
And as someone who's seen him play his entire career from 2010 to now, I can honestly say, and this isn't recency bias, this isn't being a young guy, just seeing what he sees. I saw Tony Gonzalez play the latter half of his career. I've seen highlights of almost all of them. I will say undoubtedly that Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end of all time. Specifically why he was so complete as a player, Jose. The man was huge as a player, as a tight end, so he could block everyone. His blocking skills are top tier. I haven't seen a tight end that can block better than him. People might mention Tony or some other guys. I'm like, let's see them block D tackles on running plays or pulling plays and stuff like that. Let's see them pass protect like Gronk has done.
Guys that are trained to tackle other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. From that standpoint.
Yeah, Gronk could have made a career being an O-lineman if he just wanted to beef up and just be focus on that. But he was too damn athletic, and he became the greatest tight end ever. And he is right with everybody. And people want to mention Kelsey and Kittle. Gronk was a better blocker than both of them, especially in his prime. Gronk's prime eclipses both of those dudes. Gronk was unstoppable in his prime. The only thing that stopped Gronkowski was injuries. That's the only thing that stopped him. And when he would catch the ball, you would just count to see how many players would try to tackle him, Jose.
Yeah.
That's literally what his career was, and to the point where he kept getting hurt. It's all right, stop it, just get on the ground. We get it. We know you're Gronk. Just stay healthy.
He played with his full heart and his full mind until the very end.
Every play. Until
the very, very end. So we wish him a very happy retirement from RJ Talks. And the very last thing that we wanted to bring up is something a little fun, little upbeat. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be joining Thursday Night Football on Prime Video with previously mentioned Tony Gonzalez and Richard Sherman. He's going to be doing pregame, halftime, and postgame coverage.
We both know that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a very fun guy. We mentioned this earlier today, but him wearing that outfit, the Conor McGregor outfit, that everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If you people don't know, just Google Ryan Fitzpatrick, Conor McGregor, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Guy knows obviously how to make fun of himself, which in turn makes him that much more enjoyable, and I'm excited to see what he does.
It's going to be amazing to see not only the knowledge that he would bring from the football field, but the personality that he adds to it.
Yeah.
So on to our main topic for today. We are talking about Mac Jones, the quarterback for the New England Patriots, and the kind of promise that he has shown throughout his rookie season, and what he's going to be showing us moving forward, or what our anticipation of that is going to
and
be.
what kind of obstacles he's going to have to overcome in the future of his career. We have to mention that as well. We have to be realistic. I'm going to try to lower Jose a little bit, but he's the Patriots fan, so we'll see.
Most definitely, yeah. And I do my very best to be as impartial as I possibly can. But I may just have a little too much fun on this episode. We'll see. All right, with all that being said, I'm Jose.
And I'm Ricardo.
And welcome back to RJ Talks. All right, Ricardo, so I thought I would start off this first segment by saying, or rather mentioning, the players that have come out of Alabama who are currently playing in the NFL right now, just to give us a picture of some of these guys that are just unstoppable coming out of here.
No, absolutely.
So, first of all, we have Julio Jones, who is the wide receiver picked up by the Atlanta Falcons, competed in the Super Bowl 51, and who is now playing with the Titans, was released by the Titans, and if I remember correctly, he hasn't been picked up by anyone, has he?
He hasn't picked up by anyone yet. We're going to be excited to see who specifically goes that. If we make the mistake, we'll correct it in the next episode and apologize for that. But as of right now, I don't think he's been picked up by anyone.
No, I do not believe so either, or else that would have been news everywhere.
Yeah.
Landon Collins, the safety for the New York Giants. He is also a Bama player, a former Bama player. Amari Cooper, the wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders, or who was then Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as Marcel Darius, who is the D tackle out of Buffalo. C.J. Mosley, the linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens. Mostly. Excuse me.
No.
Dante Hightower, linebacker for New England. And Clinton Dix, safety for Green Bay.
Ha-ha.
That's right. Kareem Jackson, cornerback out of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ingram, the running back for the New Orleans Saints, who was playing for the Baltimore Ravens.
He played for the Saints first, went to the Ravens, going back to the Saints.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then Mark Barron, the linebacker for the LA Rams.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some notable players that have come out of Alabama. A lot of defensive players, from what I've seen. Yeah, as well as wide receivers. Mm-hmm. So we've had some phenomenal wide receivers, especially in 2021 when they played in the national championship with Mac Jones. We have Jalen Waddle, who was picked up by Miami. We also have Najee Harris, who was picked up by Pittsburgh, and Devontae Smith, who was picked up by Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Right. So that class was not full of scrubs, right? These wide receivers are good, but again, our focus is Mac Jones coming out of that national championship. He definitely was a big reason, if not the biggest reason why they won that national championship, for sure. Now, Ricardo, I see your gears turning over there.
Well, no, my thing is that he has a chance to prove what a lot of Alabama quarterbacks can. See, the one thing that people sometimes forget about Alabama and their dynasty in college is that they have great players around them, so the stigma towards their quarterbacks is like, let's see what they do out of position without those players and see if they can actually perform at a good level to be a starter. And Mac Jones, so far his rookie year, has shown that he's capable of doing that, as opposed to you have your A.J. McCarrons and you have other quarterbacks previously that have tried to make it work in the league and just haven't had success. So I'm excited to see, and Jalen Hurts too. He's shown that he's a little bit capable, but we'll see what he's really about next season. Another guy, but we'll bring that up on another day. I'm gonna go with the mindset of other fans, Jose. Some people make the argument, he has all these weapons, that's why they won a national championship. You have Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, you can make those arguments, but you still need a quarterback to get them the football.
That's right.
I don't care who you are. I don't care how big of a receiver. It's my man that I love, Larry Fitzgerald. He could not win a Super Bowl because he could not get a damn quarterback to give him the ball. The one chance they had to win the Super Bowl, it was because of failed defense. For another note, though. So quarterbacks win games and defense win championships. Mac Jones is getting a little too much flack for my taste, Jose. Most people are saying that he's an overrated quarterback who can barely throw it downfield, and that's why they run so much, is because he can't lead the team by himself. Like, he can't be the guy. He has to be part of a specific system in order to succeed in the NFL. And that's just not true if you look at his highlights in college and see what he's done with New England. Now, to put some perspective to people who don't understand, or recent football fans, Tom Brady was struggling with that receiving core that is disastrously ugly with the New England Patriots from 2017 onward before he left them.
That's right. Yep.
If the GOAT is struggling specifically with that star core, with those weapons around him, how do you expect a rookie coming into the league to do much better, you know?
Right.
And this is part of the things that he's going to have, the obstacles that Mac Jones is going to have, is that he's going to have to try to make do with what he's got. It's kind of fun and ironic because it's what young Tom Brady kind of had to do. Like, it wasn't some of the best receivers. They were good, but not great. But what they have right now, Jose, they just need this. Get this guy more. Get this guy more. Give him some help. Get him some weapons so he can show off that arm. So he can actually try to throw it further downfield. Because receivers, they need to get open. Okay,
yeah, they do.
They need to get open.
They do, and they also need to catch the ball when the ball hits the hands. Yeah, so that's the biggest trouble that he had also. So Mac Jones was definitely forced to make a lot of shorter passes, and I've said this over and over again throughout a multitude of episodes that we've had, or throughout the numerous episodes that we've had right now, up until this point, is that he has short passes. He's in the short passing game, especially with New England, and the play action passing game, right? We run the ball fairly well as the New England Patriots, right?
I'd say really good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So the fact that we can't catch the ball makes us a little more predictable, and this is a common theme that we've had on a lot of the teams that we've been talking about thus far, or the players as well, is that we cannot be very versatile if we can't catch the football.
To bring it up, some teams it's running the football more. With New England, it's throwing the football down the field more.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So it's either going to be a huge adjustment, since we didn't really draft any. We didn't draft any wide receivers in the first round, right? And that would have been very difficult to do. Yeah. But either way, we didn't do it. On top of that as well, the fact that last year we were also able to make the playoffs, right, with Mac Jones, and we were able to end with a winning record is a good first step. Right? That's not to say that next year we're going to be going to the Super Bowl immediately. We already explained who our AFC Super Bowl contender is.
Yeah, it's in that division.
In that division as well.
And it's their time.
It is.
Time, yeah.
It definitely is. Yeah. So for me, speaking as a New England Patriots fan, or even as an impartial fan, this isn't going to be the year for us to do anything really very spectacular. That's just my take on it, right? This is going to be another rebuilding year for us, and this is going to be a year where Mac Jones is going to start adjusting into the system that the New England Patriots will lay out to him.
And specifically, he's going to have to go through some growing pains, just like every quarterback has to.
That's right.
And it's just going to see how Mac Jones adjusts to the NFL. And we talked about this, Jose. We talked about rookies, or young guys that come out of the woodwork and start lighting up the league. Whether it's a running back, receiver, quarterback, cornerback. In the case of Trevon Diggs, everyone thought he was Jesus, Deion Sanders reborn.
Right.
Until teams started adjusting to him and realizing what he does best and what he does bad. Same thing with Mac Jones. They're going to focus on what he does great, the short passing game, screen game, play action, and they're going to force him to do with what he doesn't do as good right now, which is long passes, intermediate passes, just dropping off in the shotgun formation, and just knowing that the team knowing that you're going to pass the ball and seeing if you can actually do it. And you need weapons to move in order to be able to do that. That's just my thing. That's just my big gripe with people who bury this guy, thinking that he's just hot garbage that relies on Belichick. Is that as a quarterback, you need a little. You don't have to be wide open. You don't need DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams wide to get us open like that. No, but you need something to get that ball in there, and reliable receivers that'll try to catch the ball. My goodness, the playoff game against the Buffalo Bills, Jose, I once saw him throw a ball that the receiver could have easily gotten, but the safety made just an incredible play, and the receiver he picked it right up from the receiver, it just happened, and I'm just like, man, that was a good pass, but the safety made a great play I believe it was like a 40-yard pass downfield, and I'm just like, oh, that burns.
That's not something you can be entirely mad at either. When the defense just makes a great play, when a great play was being made, right, or even a good play. So my biggest thing is, yes, he needs to work on the deep passing, on the deep passing skill. But that doesn't mean that he hasn't done it before. We've seen moments in Alabama.
Yep.
We've seen moments when he was playing quarterback, when he was playing in the quarterback position in Alabama, where he made some of these long passes. Granted, it's very easy to do this in college, especially for very good quarterbacks, very promising quarterbacks going into the NFL. We've seen trend after trend of these guys making wide open passes
Yep.
and look like amazing quarterbacks. You know, like Pickett this past year, right?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Like Pickett out of Pittsburgh this past year, right? Yeah, he made these flashy passes, and he was able to complete these long deep throws. But put him in any kind of other position where he had to zip the ball in when the window was just about 3 yards open, right? And he had trouble doing that. So we've seen that Mac Jones is capable of doing it at the college level.
Yeah.
So now he needs to get used to it in the professional level. All right, so let's actually pull up some of his stats here in college.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. In 2018, a freshman, he completed 5 of his 13 attempts, right? At 38.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty rough, right? But he probably didn't get a whole lot of playtime either. That doesn't seem like a player that,
No,
had
no,
the entire season.
It was still
Right.
Jalen Hurts and Tua vying for starting position.
That's right.
Yeah, so he wasn't going to play much.
No, not really. Yeah. So right after that, in 2019, he completed 97. He was a starting quarterback then. That was his first year, right? He completed 97 of 141 passes. He averaged 68.8. That's how he ended the season. And he passed for 1,503 yards. And he averaged 10.7 yards per pass. All right. 14 TDs, 3 INTs, 3 interceptions. All right. He ended his career with Alabama, throwing 311 completions for 402 passes, for 402 attempts, yes. 77.4%, that's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
4,500 yards even. And he averaged 11.2 yards per attempt, with 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. His numbers just skyrocketed, right?
Yep.
So let's fast forward to New England this past season.
Yep.
So the regular season, he threw for 352 of 521, which amounts to 67.6% completion percentage. 3,801 yards, 7.3 yards per pass, right? 22 INTs, 22 touchdowns. I started making him sound like Jameis Winston for a second.
No, 13 INTs.
And 13 INT. Yeah, 22 touchdowns and 13 INTs. So that's a big interception number.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not to say that he can't bring that down. In the postseason, he had, and that was just the regular season. In the postseason, he completed 24 of 38 of his passes, which amounted to 63.2, right? 232 yards and averaged 6.1 yards per pass, right? 2 touchdowns for 2 INTs. And this was in that wild card game against the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he didn't show a whole lot of promise then. But that's not to say that he can't do it next year and the year after that and the year after that. It's like you said, he needs the weapons.
And here's another big topic. Well, not topic, but like within the topic. Here's another big issue that I have in mind, and you know where I'm going with this, Jose. And this is not going to help Mac Jones develop as a quarterback or offense in the NFL. Is the fact that Bill Belichick is not taking upon the fact to hire a competent or a good offensive guru, offensive coordinator. He's like, you know what? I'll do it. And God bless Bill Belichick. He's the greatest head coach of all time. But that man is strictly defense. You like offensive. Maybe he could have done it back at when Tom Brady era, when it was mostly running and every stuff, like trying to pass it every now and then. But he can't compete with these young guys, Jose. Like I'm just like I said this before the draft. I'm saying it now, and I'm saying it before the season starts. New England Patriots fans. Things won't get better for Mac Jones until you get an offensive coordinator, a good assistant coach to help him actually develop as a player, because Belichick is known for defense, specifically quarterbacks. In the secondary too, safety sometimes. His son runs the safety group.
Right.
Yeah, he's the coach for the safety, so
Right.
that's why I wonder why. But so my point is that I see struggling coming, Jose. I see struggling, and I feel like it's going to be very unfair to Mac Jones because he's going to get a lot of flack for being like, oh, he's regressed so much. I'm like, when you look at the weapons they currently have, granted they got, I believe it was Parker, right? Devontae Parker from Miami.
Yep.
They have him. He's a great 3 and a solid number 2, but he's not a 1 receiver. You guys need a 1 receiver to help out. You need that dynamic duo to go in there. I know you wanted Chris Olave. Gosh, if they had that 3rd pick, that would have been the dream come perfect. But they currently don't have it at the moment. They're going to be predictable running that offense, and they're just going to run the ball more and do some more short intermediate stuff. And I feel people don't understand that there's an art to intermediate and deep plays, Jose. Like, it's not just all like, okay, just go straight, let's see how it works out. I'm going to just try to chuck it up here. No, there's patterns. There's concepts. You watch the LA Rams. It's a beautiful thing to watch with Cooper Kupp, with that route running, with the flats, with the corners, with the posts, with the hooks, with the out and up, with the out stutter step and then up, and then over the middle, out and then up seams. I'm sorry, I'm rambling on because it's exciting. It's exciting stuff to watch.
These are all things that are part of the route tree for those of you that don't know.
Yeah. Those are all routes that you run deep, and we've mentioned it before. Just look it up on Google, and I'll show you all specific routes if you Google route tree. But the point being is that comes with a person who knows what he's doing and is devoted like most of their life to doing that. Belichick, I love him. He's amazing at defense. He's had 2 virtuosos against the same team, the LA Rams.
Yep.
So that's what his thing is. His thing's not offense, and it's going to be troublesome for the New England Patriots, and Mac Jones is going to struggle because of this, but you know what? He's going to have to take some of it in stride, and these are going to be some of the growing pains that we're going to be watching.
In the news as well, and I thought I would mention this right now, We've heard a lot about Joe Judge, right? Who's the offensive assistant? Yeah, who's the offensive assistant for the New England Patriots, and you hear a lot of things like he's been working very closely with Mac Jones. Who else would, right?
Yeah.
That's not to say that Mac Jones is a bad player or that we anticipate him to be a bad player. It's just who else would it be except for Joe Judge, right? So the fact that we're having him come out and basically saying that, yes, I've been working very closely with him is a point of concern, definitely. Yeah. Maybe, Ricardo, you can add a little bit more to that.
Well, let me add to the idiocy of Joe Judge and the guy who thought he was Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Bill Belichick, with a little brief history of his stint with the New York Giants. Now, I'm going to pull the records up too, by the way, because the thing this guy did is ridiculous here. Mm-hmm. But pretty much, his own team quit on him. He's a fake tough guy, Jose. You know those guys that like talk like they're big stuff, and all that. They think that like, oh yeah, like you can't do anything to me. I'm a big tough guy. I'll beat you up, and you know that.
Right.
Part of my language, that they're full of it.
Yeah.
That's what this guy was as a coach. And the New York Giants, they knew that.
They didn't buy it.
They didn't buy any of it. Like, players will sense authenticity like that, dude. Like they'll know specifically what your problem is and if you're real. His illustrious career as the New York Giants head coach. The man was with the Giants for 2 years.
2 whole years, wow.
Yeah. And his first season, he won 6 games. 10 losses. Like, okay, maybe it's your first year, you'll adjust. His second year, he ended up winning less games. He won 4 games and lost the rest of them. Jose, that's a winning percentage of 30%.
It's tragic.
Like, that's the guy who held the Giants franchise. And now he's going back to New England. It's just the thing with Belichick disciples is that they think they're Belichick, but they're not because you don't have the hardware to back it up. You can be tough when you win all the time, and your quarterback's Tom freaking Brady, and he buys into the system. You can't do that in a new team. We're gonna think you're full of it. Like, who are you? What have you done individually? All this bringing to the fact is that this guy is full of it. I don't think he knows what he's doing, Jose. I think he's a fraud. I think he's pretty much a guy who's taking advantage of being a Patriot assistant, and he's not going to do much. The fact that he's not labeled officially the offensive coordinator or play caller, Jose, says it all. It says it all. That
Yeah.
just means he's there to do what Belichick tells him, and he doesn't have any input, anything to help the team. And that Belichick is just saying, you know what? It's going to be kind of by committee, but I'll handle the offensive stuff. That's troubling.
It sounds like he's an errand boy.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much an errand boy.
That's
yeah,
exactly
like
what it is.
Yeah, he's abiding to the system. He's abiding to the system that Bill Belichick has already constructed for that team.
Yes.
Yeah. So what he's doing is he's taking the orders that are barked at him and he's just doing it. Mm-hmm. Right. That's what we believe.
And to be fair, coaches do listen to that coach, but they also have substance to offer. They also can offer some other things. Like the good assistant coaches that you have, they'll listen to what you're saying and be like, but coach, how about if you try this? How about if we do this? If the coach still says no, so be it. But you can only do, you can offer a lot as an assistant.
Right.
You're there with the players most of the time. You see things that he probably isn't seeing because he's coaching the coaches.
Yeah.
And oh my God, the fact that they got this guy to do it, Jose, it worries me. It worries me. It's just I'm worried about what's gonna happen upcoming. And I know you love your Patriots, but I don't know, man.
I still have to sit here and be, like I said from the very beginning, I'd still have to sit here and be pretty impartial about it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and end this segment for right now, and we will move on to the next one with the trajectory, with our continued take on the trajectory of the New England Patriots as well as Mac Jones.
We'll be back.
All right, so now, Ricardo, I thought it'd be a good idea to look through the second-year NFL quarterbacks and basically look at a ranking of them.
Okay.
Right, that is already preset from the ESPN. Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is an article written by Jeremy Fowler. Right. Basically said that the NFL has a shortage of quality quarterback play. Which is his take.
And he's a known ESPN writer, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's been there forever.
Yeah. So he says the top shelf passers, and these are all direct quotes. Yes, the top shelf passers are brilliant in their playmaking and true franchise cornerstones. From a 44-year-old somehow getting better Tom Brady to a 25-year-old who just got to the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow. Right? But the quarterback pantheon is top heavy. There's debate around the league as to whether the NFL has 32 true starters. There's plenty of debate that goes around about that, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this short ranking, the second-year quarterbacks are ones that are being mentioned, right? And the head picture, like the cover photo on this is Trevor Lawrence. All right. We'll see what exactly he will be doing this next year. I don't think it will be much, personally.
To be fair, this might be his first starting rookie season. We'll give him a mulligan at the fact that the disgrace of a head coach that they had this past year. Keep going, Jose.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and pull it up here. I just lost it. But it's very interesting to see who exactly is going to be taking a bigger leap this next year, right? So CBS, I'm looking at CBS right now actually, and they actually categorized it, right? So they have this category. They have unlikely but not out of the question. Number 6 is Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears. He was thrown into the fire last year, and I kind of feel bad for the kid. I will say that, especially his debut for the Chicago Bears, they got completely smashed.
It was just a disgrace done by that coaching staff for their rookie quarterback on their debut. I remember that game, and I'm just like, really? You're gonna set him up to fail like this? You're not gonna try to help him out with easy plays,
That's
easy
terrible.
Rollouts, getting away from that pressure, running the ball, misdirection, some screens, anything. No, let's let Myles Garrett go one-on-one with our left tackle and let's drop the kid back. That'll work. Oh God.
awful. I felt terrible for him.
So all that saying is that we love Justin Fields. We think well, at least I do. I think he has promise, but I don't know. Depending on what's around him, I don't know if he has enough to make a bigger leap next year. It might be a third year kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's why he's also put in this category of unlikely but not out of the question.
Yeah.
Right. So Justin Fields for sure does show a lot of promise.
Yeah.
Right. And similar to Mac Jones, our topic of the day, it's an organizational struggle. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't know a whole lot of organizations that would throw a rookie quarterback into a situation like that and expecting him to just put up these stellar numbers and help them win the game. If I were in that position, I would feel very discouraged. I don't know about you, Ricardo. I mean, it would be, or at the very least, it would be difficult for me not to be discouraged by that.
Mac Jones. All Justin Fields can do as far as like with the organization, just focus on what he can do to be better. Because if he starts focusing on like what the coaches does, what the owners all like, he's gonna collapse. He's gonna fumble apart, and he's not gonna improve as a player. All he can do is what he can do as a player, and it'll show. We'll see him like running around doing everything he can to try to make his team win. But if they end up losing, he'll make like all you can do as a player. Be like, I'm not gonna be the reason that we lose. I'm gonna be the reason that we win. If we lose, it's not gonna be because of me.
Right.
I'm gonna do everything that I can, and that's pretty much he can do. Is just try to focus on the stuff that can make him better. Granted, that involves some coaching, but I have faith.
Yeah, some competent coaching.
Yeah,
yes.
I have faith. Yep. I have faith that he'll be able to get a little better, but it won't reflect in the record-wise as far as win-loss.
No, it won't. It won't. So, well, fortunately for him, the bar was set pretty low last year.
Yeah.
Not in his skill level particularly, but in the way that offense is set up altogether, because it's not just him, it's the entire offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just lost Allen Robinson too, so lovely.
Fantastic, really. And number 5 is Mac Jones. In that category as well, it's like it's unlikely that he's going to make a huge leap. And this is what we have been talking about this past segment, all right, is the fact that there are a lot of things that are holding him back, right? A less than stellar receiving core, a less than stellar offensive assistant who is working closely with him according to reports, and a defensive-minded head coach who is, granted, the greatest coach of all time. There's no question of that.
But he's being stubborn right now.
He is.
He needs to get out of his butt and realize that he needs help on that side of the ball.
Right. Absolutely. So for him, specifically Mac Jones, right? It'll be tough. It'll probably be another tough year for him, but it's going to be a little bit easier. It may be a little bit easier, considering the fact that we just picked up Devontae Parker, right? Mm-hmm. So he could be a solid addition to the team. We'll see how he fits into the scheme, right? Now, let me ask you this, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Since the Miami Dolphins are in a similar division, right? Mm-hmm. And I've asked you this question before. I just thought I would ask you on the mic.
Yeah.
Right? Since the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots are in a similar division, and they both play East Coast ball, right? Would Devontae Parker have an easier time fitting into that scheme since they're in the same division?
With New England. I thought you meant Miami.
With New England.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry about that. No, I think he would, because specifically he's very good. We've seen him. He's a big-bodied receiver, which is meant for possession type of plays, and that's part of the reason why I say he's a good number 2, but not a number 1. The reason he's a number 2 is because he doesn't necessarily get explosive plays, but like on a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 10, you give him a chance to catch the ball, he'll get it. He'll use his big tall frame to get that ball, and it's the short passing game that New England is good at. So he'll definitely help in that area. I say he can get used to the New England system. Like, it's a lot of like short game passes, and let's be honest, in Miami that's all it was with too. It's just short passes, like screens, 10-yard passes, 5-yard passes every once in a while, a deep ball, seeing if they could get a bunch of like short to intermediate game, and that's really Devontae Parker's game, and he'll thrive in that. But once they double him, that's my thing. But yeah, no, I think he'll fit in good. And we'll see exactly like what he can do with New England. Like, honestly, we gotta watch him play, Jose. That's what it is. We gotta watch him play before we see him do anything. But I think with that system, I think he'll be a bright spot with that team.
He will be. He will be. I think so. And especially considering the fact that we have been struggling in that regard.
Yeah.
Now, the next ones on the list is there's a category that says don't be shocked, right? If these people, make an appearance these coming years. Davis Mills out of Houston. Now they like what they like him a lot. They enjoy what he brings to the team.
He definitely was a shock last year, dude. Like with the Houston Texans, you were expecting that team to lose every single game.
We were.
And not be competitive.
Oh yeah.
He had him in those games. Like you saw, like he's something. He's something. Like he came out of nowhere and he was able to help that team win a couple of games. But like he was a big bright spot for that team, and they should be excited for him if they gave him a little more help.
Yeah. Now this is a pick that you and I will not agree with.
Okay.
This is Zach Wilson for the Jets.
Yeah.
He's number 3. Really?
Yeah. I'll let you go first on this.
Well, for one, he's a member of the New York Jets. That's one problem.
Yeah.
Right. Secondly, he doesn't read defenses very well at all. Yeah, especially in the NFL. He has a very hard time reading and adjusting to what the defense is giving him. And historically speaking, that's what we've seen a lot of the best quarterbacks do, right? Not only do they know where to throw when their offensive weapons are in position, right? Mm-hmm. Or even out of position. They are able to do this because they read what the defense is giving them as well, right? If their first option is completely covered, then they're not going to be able to give it to them, right? And then they have to move on to their second, to their third. They need to be able to read the playing field as accurately as they possibly can, right?
Yep.
And that's all the pressure that's on them, That's including the defensive line pressure. Zach Wilson couldn't do any of this. He did not show any promise of this. So unless he actually improved his football IQ this coming season, he's not going to win. He's not going to be doing anything this coming year.
And what have we talked about? I've ripped on him a lot. I've ripped on him quite a bit. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily in the podcast, but when you and I talk.
Yes.
So I'll just get down to it. Guy needs to get better at his mechanics. He needs to get better at his mechanics, and he needs to be disciplined, just like you said, Jose, with reading the defense and taking what his option is given to him. I mean, we saw him play against the Patriots last season, where he literally forced and gift wrapped 2 interceptions to you guys that there was no need for it. And then he ended up getting hurt because he was trying to make a big play running outside. He needs to understand that, yes, he can move a little, but you're not more athletic than those monsters running up against you. Now, a little bit of situations, even Tom Brady even a blind dog finds a bone. Even Tom Brady finds an opening that he runs and he gets a first down. But that shouldn't be the core of your game. Just because Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert can run outside and throw it deeply across their body and make touchdowns, that doesn't mean that has to be you. That isn't you. I'll be honest, Zach Wilson, that is not you. So you have to learn to get better in the pocket. Every once in a while, yes, you can roll out, but stay maintaining with passing accurately and focused on your footwork and mechanics. What did I just say? Focus on your mechanics, on your footwork, and make sure that you get better. You got a great receiver that they just drafted for you.
Garrett Wilson.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse. That guy is a speedster, and he can run routes. You mentioned it, Jose, when we went to the draft. When we were talking about the draft, he just needs to learn how to contain his speed when he's running routes. Because sometimes he's running out of his body, and
it's a little uncontrolled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you got that guy, and then you have help on your defensive side. Might get you a couple of interceptions with Sauce Gardner, and you have a team that can be built up pretty good. So you can't be the reason that they're struggling. You can't pull a Baker Mayfield. You can't pull a Kirk Cousins. You can't pull a Kyler Murray in the playoffs last year. Jesus, you can't be the reason. You just have to be disciplined with your mechanics. If I'm Zach Wilson, forget watching. Forget weights. Footwork, watching film. And passing drills with my receivers. Get that connection with Chris Olave going now, so that when the season starts, it's...
You mean with Garrett Wilson?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson.
No, that's all right.
They're just both good. Thank you. But that's what I would do if I was Zach Wilson, and I don't think he's that kind of guy, dude. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. He seems too cocky for his own good, and
we could be very surprised.
We could
by him this next year, but unless he drops the ego and he's able to contain himself in the pocket, so he doesn't make all these deep, flashy passes, right, and get the ball intercepted 4 or 5 times in a single game, right?
Yeah.
Then at that point he'll be able to come back. That's not Mac Jones's problem, right? And we've already discussed this in the last segment, but I figured that I would bring this up since he is the main topic of this podcast. That's not his problem. His mechanics are great. His passing is great. He's also very athletic, or not very athletic, very accurate.
Yeah.
Right. The thing that needs to come to him is, once again, we're going to keep reiterating this: the weapons around him, the coaching around him. It needs to improve. Right. So when if you want to compare Zach Wilson to Mac Jones, that is the biggest problem. Right. And I know that I made a joke saying that he was a part of the New York Jets, that was the big that's the big joke, right? Is that if you're drafted by the Jets, your career is basically kaput.
Yeah.
Right. That is the case. That is really the case if you go to the Lions, but that is really the case if you go to the Detroit Lions. But then again, you have somebody like Matthew Stafford that came out of there and won a championship ring. But
say that again.
Matthew Stafford that came out of there and won a championship.
Left and won a championship.
Left and then won a championship.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So for Zach Wilson, we'll see what he does this next year. I don't have a whole lot of faith in him. You don't. So with all that being said, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest push that the news is giving us, is the fact that he has all these receivers backing him up.
Now, if it was Mac Jones with Garrett Wilson,
oh man,
hold the phone. We're getting a little excited here.
Yeah.
Because if Zach Wilson had Mac Jones like mindset and dedication to his mechanics,
yes.
Dude might have played out of his mind last year. But no, he's too cocky. Like he's unless he shows different. If he shows different, I said it with Josh Allen. I'm not too proud to admit when I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. I'll admit it. Let's keep going.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
With Josh Allen. So number 2, we have Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Now, it says here the most striking takeaway from Lawrence's rookie season was the repeatedly missed layups.
Mm-hmm. No, I know exactly what they're talking about.
So what is it that they're talking about?
So they're talking about specific with some plays where like receiver gets out of his break and he just has to throw the ball and get rid of it. But he would hold the ball on too long to try to be a superhero and try to like make a bigger play, and it leads to an interception. That was part of his problem in college, Jose. And that's why I prefer Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence, because Fields would get the ball, get rid of it immediately, make the passes, read correctly, and more accurate than Lawrence. Lawrence has struggled like being sometimes accurate with the football, and that's what the layups are, is like the simple plays, the simple 5-and-out routes, the simple passes, the screens. Sometimes he misses it, sometimes he's hold on to it too quick. I mean, when I saw Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence in the championship game, Trevor Lawrence had like 20 incompletions, like a bunch of them overthrows, bunch of like struggling stuff, and that's what they're referring to here, is that like layups. So the people that make fun of Mac Jones, bringing him back into this conversation, those layups are important. They add up. You miss a guy 5 yards open, it could have been 3rd and 5 as opposed to 3rd and 10.
Yeah.
Or it could have been 2nd and 5 as opposed to 2nd and 10, and then 2nd and 5 you can run it, then it's 3rd and 1. It's small stuff like that, and that's what they're mentioning with him.
If we were to compare this scenario to a different sport in basketball,
yes,
right? It is a shooting league. Yeah, you have a lot of 3-pointers coming out of each game. Very high scoring games lately. All right. And this has been happening for the past 5 years?
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah, this has been a more of a recent development, maybe a little bit longer.
Closer to 6 years, honestly, but yeah.
All right, so over the past 6 years, right, you've seen a lot of high scoring games because you see everybody going for threes, right? And that's why Steph Curry is such a big name in the basketball world, and that's why he's so destructive on the court, right? But there's no reason to sleep on those twos. There's no reason to sleep on the layups in football, right? Those are the ones that get you down the field. Now, if you're doing that if you're doing that so often to the point where the defensive side is starting to read what you're doing, then it makes you predictable. But there's no reason to sleep on those things. You're playing the long game at that point, right? And you're just doing your best to get the first down. And that's a lot of what the New England Patriots offensive style is all about, is getting the first down.
Yep.
So that's why that short game is so important. And I believe that that's why Mac Jones fits so well into the scheme this past year, right? Because those are things that he's used to. Now, granted, Alabama went for a few longer passes than usual, but that's not to say that he hasn't had any experience like that. He still has.
Yeah. No, and to the people, I want to bring this point up too, Jose. Like, people are like saying like, oh, if he had the system around New England and that protection and whatnot, like these rookies would have had amazing years. Like, they would have done like just as good. I'm just like, that's the Tom Brady argument I hear with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Like, if Aaron Rodgers had Bill Belichick, oh my God, the Patriots would have won 8 Super Bowls and whatnot. It's like, not every player fits the system or the coach.
Yes.
And that's very important. And Mac Jones fits it because of Nick Saban. Because Nick Saban, he's a very ruthless head coach, Jose. He is not he takes control of a room and he lays down the law. Remind you of anybody? Defensive minded too. Remind you of anybody? You know?
That's right.
So to say that these quarterbacks would fit into their systems, it's not necessarily true. Trevor Lawrence, he's having the same problem that he did in college. He's holding the ball on too long and he's not getting rid of it, and sometimes he's not as accurate. Justin Fields goes for the good play, but we'll see what he does. Like, we see his weaknesses, and he has trouble reading fronts and adjusting his protection. Justin Fields has so much from stuff. So let's get back to the list. Let's finish it off. But my point being is that don't discredit what Mac Jones is doing. Back to those layups. They add up.
They do.
They add up.
They do. And it also helps that is, the original offensive scheme of the New England Patriots too. So with that being the Patriot way, it's easy for him to say, okay, well, now I understand why I'm doing this, and I understand why I'm making this play this way. Yep. Right? It's easy for him to digest. So last but not least, for sure, is Trey Lance, and he's the one that's expected to make the biggest leap this next year. Now, we were talking a lot about last week. We were talking a lot about how our topic was the Buccaneers and the LA Rams, those two teams being the top contenders for the NFC.
Yeah.
With Trey Lance coming out of the woodwork, we briefly mentioned the Niners, the San Francisco 49ers. Do you think that they could be the team that comes out of the woodwork?
This is going to seem like such a cliche answer, Jose, but I got to see how Trey Lance plays this, like, a couple games.
So do I.
You got to.
Honestly. I was thinking the exact same thing you were.
Yeah, like, I got to see how he reacts, because, like, he was okay last year. Like, he was all right with a couple of games, but not too consistent. And here's Trey Lance's problem, Jose. He hasn't had that many dropbacks in college. When he played for North Dakota State, I saw a stat that, like, okay, just to give you an example, Mac Jones had like 300 attempts his senior year, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I believe it was 400. It was 400 and he completed 300, right?
It was 402. Yeah, so just over 400 attempts.
Okay. Trey Lance, his final 2 years in college, he had like 171 dropbacks.
Yeah.
Think about that. Muscle memory, footwork, technique, passing the ball, passing drills, how that's affecting. Guy has immeasurables through the roof. The guy's 6'5", he's athletic, he can throw it deep, and he can be accurate sometimes, but like, I just gotta see how he plays. That team is complete. You know what they remind me of, Jose? They remind me of the Cleveland Browns kind of a year ago, where they're set at specific other positions. The only thing that they suffer,
like the 2018 Cleveland Browns, or just the Cleveland Browns right after the 2016 season. Pretty much their growth up until this point, right?
Their growth, yeah. That's what they remind me of, because they're still struggling at the skill position. That's the word I'm looking for.
There we go.
Skill position.
So for those at home that don't know that, how about you explain the skill position?
Yes, skill position players are players that are very athletic and that they make the huge plays with the ball. It can be running backs. It can be, most importantly, receivers. But they're your flashy players. They're your best players. Like, they're the ones who make the plays in passing and who run all over the field. They don't necessarily have to run consistently, but your skill position players, those are running backs, receivers that are very, very talented at what they do. They can be really athletic, they can be very technical, they can be very strong, fast, you name it, but that's why they're skills, because they're very, very skillful at what they do.
Right.
Going back specifically to the Niners, with Deebo Samuel, like maybe looking like he might be leaving the 49ers because of a contract dispute. It's going to be very hard to see how anybody else helps Trey Lance. I love Kittle, Ayuk, we love him, ASU.
Yep.
You know, we just got to see how Trey Lance plays. Honestly, we just got to see how they do it. He has all the potential, which is why he's number 1 on this list. But until we see him do it, I don't know. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a good quarterback, but not great. We saw that last year.
Yes.
But he's still good. Mm-hmm. And in a second-year quarterback, you might not be at the level of good yet. You have the potential of great, but you're not there yet. You have to earn it little by little. And until we see this guy play, Jose, if he's like half of what like the people hype him up to be, could be exciting for the Niners. Could be a little exciting for the Niners. People think he might be the next best thing. He might be. Everyone likes to say the next Mahomes, but like I'm saying, like the next big quarterback. We saw it with Mahomes, Herbert, and then Burrow this past couple of years.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We'll see.
So with how stacked the San Francisco 49ers is, it seems to be a situation that's very similar to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right? That's not to say that Trey Lance is as difficult as Baker Mayfield is.
No,
right?
no.
He's not nearly as difficult as he is. He's not nearly as lacking of skill as Baker Mayfield is. But his scenario is very similar.
Yeah.
In the sense that he has all the potential around him. He has all the weapons around him that he could possibly be using. Now he needs to use them wisely.
And he has a great defense.
Yes.
That's healthy now.
Yes.
That's a quarterback's best friend. It's a great defense. And Kyle Shanahan's going to run that football one way or another. He's going to use Debo. He's going to use running back with Elijah Mitchell, all of them. He's going to run that football.
Well, he's all about the zone run game as well, right?
Yeah, like his father before him.
Exactly.
So, Trey Lance, like to pitch this back to you, Jose. This is like a Baker off of his rookie season. We're going into this season. This is what we have with Trey Lance. But the team that Baker had around 2018, I would say. No, that's when he was drafted. A couple years after is when he has what Trey Lance is facing now, because this team's stacked already. They made it to the NFC Championship.
Right.
We just got to see how he plays. With Baker, we saw year after year after year of constantly seeing him. He was a problem that game. He was a problem this game. They lost because of him. They could have won if Baker played better. This, and that.
He was always the problem.
Yeah. We'll see with Trey Lance.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does.
We'll see exactly what he has to offer for the 49ers. To wrap up this episode here, because we are coming up on time, let's go ahead and just wrap up with the fact that Mac Jones is who he is at this point in time. He has all the room in the world to improve.
Yeah.
All right. But the trouble with him is the fact that he does not have a whole lot of reliable firepower around him in the coaching and the player aspect, right? Mm-hmm. So as a realistic Patriots fan, I share your worry. I really do. Yeah, maybe not as much only because I like to stay hopeful for my team, right? I have to most definitely. But that's not to say that I cannot be realistic, right? Mac Jones is going into his second year as an NFL quarterback for the New England Patriots, who just came off the year before him, who just came off their first losing season in 20 plus years, right? And they trade Tom Brady out. They trade Tom Brady in for Cam Newton, who did not show them any promise in that season, right? Maybe, a sliver of it, right? Yeah. He's had moments, but that's it. And then you throw this rookie QB in saying, you're going to be our starting quarterback for the first year. Good luck. Go at it. And I think he took the bull by the horns for sure. And he did everything that he possibly could. That's not to say that the New England Patriots defense did not help them get there. They definitely did, right? They still showed promise last year.
Yeah.
But I am hopeful for Mac Jones. And I do see a whole lot of promise coming forward for him, and I do think he might be taking some independence in this too, because I have been seeing some headlines saying that he is taking charge of the offense. All right, granted, it is the coach's offense for sure. That's just how it is. With how stubborn Bill Belichick is, it's gonna be difficult, and especially with Mac Jones just going into his second year, what kind of voice does he have? Right, he needs to find that. Yeah. So that's my big concern: is Mac Jones fitting himself into the offensive scheme and doing everything he can, that is within his power to progress.
Yeah, and just real quickly, like you know my stance on Mac Jones. I like him. I think he has a good potential as far as what he can be.
Yeah.
But you said it perfectly right there. Is that you got to build a team around him as well. You know, you got to build a team around him to see him progress, to see him go through those growing pains, because it's not perfect. Like no one's gonna go. No, you're like you know this as a Patriots fans. That run that happened with Tom Brady, that's not gonna happen again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like you got to ride with this guy. You'll get the lows, but you have the potential for those highs.
Yes.
But to get to those highs, you need to build a team around him so he has the chance to reach those highs.
This isn't baseball.
Yeah.
This is not baseball, and this is not basketball.
Yeah.
Okay? Not one guy is going to take you to the World Series. Not one guy is going to be taking you to the NBA championship.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It is not easy to win a Super Bowl trophy in the NFL. It is not easy.
Yeah.
And it takes every single person to be on top of it all the time. That's how it is. Even if you do get to the Super Bowl, you still have to play like that top caliber team. You've seen teams get blown out in the Super Bowl historically.
Oh,
yeah. And those because they didn't show up. Where were they? So, with all that being said, his teammates need to support him. His coaches need to support him, right? And they need to realize that he is the leader of the team. He's the field commander, right? And that's what it's going to take. Right, he's the catcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Right, he's the one that's supervising the team, and he's the one that needs to take charge of the team in order for them to have any kind of success this next season. Will they have a winning record? I think so. I think they'll still have a winning record.
Thing is, like, I would say, I don't see them like 4 games or anything like that. No. My concern is that you're gonna hit a ceiling with what that type of offense can get you.
Yes.
And my guess, we'll have our official predictions before the season starts, but I'd say a little more closer towards 500. Maybe a game over, but I don't think playoffs.
We'll have a more accurate prediction as soon as the preseason starts.
Yeah.
Right, we can start going over preseason games as soon as that begins.
And we'll predict for each individual team as far as record and what we think they're going to do.
Absolutely, yeah. So we can make some tangible predictions then. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow our Instagram at rjtalks_11. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Bye.